Without pushing, it's just a question of...
Yeah. Hello singers and greetings from Italy, Palermo, in my humble Airbnb. Welcome to another Tenor Talk episode. And this time I wanted to talk about the idea of individualizing the mouth, the tongue, the jaw. And I think better than individualizing it, perhaps is better to use the word to make them independent of the process of phonation. I still see a lot of singers who are using their jaw, their mouth, to try to formulate the vowels, create the vowels, sing. I like to call them mouth singers. Instead of relying in perhaps what would be a completely different way of phonating that you are used to if this is the first time experiencing such concepts and processes, and not taking that leap of faith in phonating in that open acoustical chamber of space that we create when we open the throat. Now, for those of you who are new and perhaps haven't watched my previous videos, what I'm talking about is that step one of singing should always be in the inhalation process. This is your preparation when you take your breath. This first step in the process of phonating needs to create your onset, which is just a fancy word to say opening the throat. The soft palate rises, the larynx drops. There's a gap between the back of the tongue and the palate. That gap, this is where we want all of our phonation to be in. You can think of it as a little room. Think of it as your bedroom, your space, your area, whatever you want to think of it as. This is where the magic happens. This is why we say that singing happens like this, almost like a backwards trumpet. Not like this, but like this. And the reason why I suggest to people to strive away from over-opening the mouth, engaging the jaw too much, is because it's a seesaw idea. If you open the mouth, gaping wide, you have no choice but to close the back of the throat. But to close the back, the throat, which is the part that we want open. However, we do this, it opens the throat. Closed, open. That's why you have the famous saying, small mouth, big sound. Big mouth, small sound. Because you do not have an acoustical chamber of space to resonate as the air comes in contact with the vocal cords, vibrates the vocal cords, and bounces off the acoustical space that you have created, that little room. Now, I have mentioned all this in my previous videos. If you're still a little lost as to what I'm talking about, go watch those, because I want to dig a little bit deeper with this idea now. The importance as to why it's good to individualize certain concepts instead of trying to put everything together too quickly. It's because it is possible to do many concepts correctly, but in a wrong posture. So many of you like to quote me on the snarl, the bright vowel, the NG, adduction, the squeak, the stretching and thinning. But perhaps where most of you are hitting a dead end or wall is because you have built all these concepts, but with the wrong foundation, the wrong posture. For example, you could build a house that is functioning correctly, has the electricity, the plumbing, all the lights turn on, the sink works, it has 4 walls, it's structurally and electronically and mechanically functioning correctly, but you built it over water. So it's all just gonna sink. It doesn't have the correct foundation. It's the same idea. It's possible to build certain concepts correctly, but in a wrong posture. If I sing like this, with the snarl, I'm doing some concepts correctly. I am kind of thinking up, I'm thinking bright vowel, I'm trying to think of this stretch and thin, but my throat is closing on me. In other words, my singing has shifted from where it's supposed to be, this open acoustical chamber of space, and I've moved it to here. I want to develop all the concepts that I've talked about. I want to develop them and shift them from here to here. Now, for many of you, this is going to be perhaps uncomfortable at first. It's going to be new because it's different to what we're used to doing. When we speak, we're not in that position. If we sing how we speak, we would be doing it wrong. This is how I speak. Hi, 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 ha. If I don't change anything, I'm hitting a dead end. So I need to, in a way, take a leap of faith and lean into a different posture, a different foundation to develop these concepts that we've been talking about thus far. And it does feel weird. For many of you, singing this way, because it's so close to speaking, the way you speak, it feels like your foot is on ground, right? And then when someone tells you, okay, now you have to do that, but you have to do it like this. Okay, with an open throat. Now it's like you're trying to walk on water, right? Your feet are now in a different type of surface. It's new, it's different, it's weird, and you're trying to get your balance and your coordination correctly. That's gonna happen whenever you try something new. But I encourage you to be able to sing and get through bel canto roles, Verdi, practically 90% of operatic repertoire, which demands for the singer to be in this posture, to be able to turn the voice, tilt the voice, and find a sense of ease and flexibility without tension. Think Una furtiva lagrima, Un'aura amorosa, Mozart, Donizetti, early Verdi. You're going to have a hard time singing any of these if you are singing with your mouth, with your jaw. Quanto è bella! Not gonna work. Quanto è bella! And so you have a lot more space and opening. And as you can see, I barely moved my mouth and my jaw. And this is really the point of the video. What I really, really wanted to talk about this video is this. Making independent the jaw, the mouth, even the tip of the tongue, independent from the phonation process. So the jaw itself can have various movements. It can be clenched. It can be moved forward, side to side. And it can even be unhinged. That's the one we want. Okay, so if you're confused as to where it is, it feels like we have two hinges in the jaw. Now, many of you, as well as myself, suffer from TMJ, or if you have retainers, we sometimes clench too much, and in the morning, this is very stiff. This is one of the first things you want to get very relaxed, to unhinge the jaw. This is the jaw hinged. This is the jaw unhinged. You have to be almost like a wooden doll, right? Like a bone can be able to move your jaw. So once you find that jaw to be unhinged, as if someone shot you a shot of anesthesia, next thing you want to do is make sure that jaw is never forward. You never want to sing like this. This is clenched, tensed, and forward. No. Again, forward. Let gravity do the work for you, even if you do little massages here. Okay? And maintain this jaw very relaxed. As I am speaking to you, I sound like a dummy. That's correct, that's fine. We want to sing in this position, okay? You ever seen those skeletons? I talk like this, very relaxed. You want a certain sensation of this never grabbing, never clenching, and being unhinged and being moved slightly back. The mouth doesn't need to open at the moment any more than this. This is why I always recommend little exercises with a little bottle cap. And even this one is slightly big. And keeping it there. And if you don't have a bottle cap, you can do it with your thumb. Okay? The idea is to keep the jaw in a state of relaxation. The tongue, you can almost split it in half. From here onwards, it's also dead and numb, right at the bottom of the teeth, right here. And then think of it as dumb as well. Think of it as dumb. Think of it as dumb. The back of it, the other half, from here upwards, think of that lifted, as if you're saying that E vowel, E vowel. Okay? So now in this position that's very dumb, very loose, nothing should be tensed. If you're tensing, clenching, nothing should be tense. You can even bring your tongue outwards with the jaw relaxed. Slowly let it creep back up. To find that position. Okay, now in that position, take your inhalation and your open throat breath. Without opening the mouth further. I don't want to go and then going back into my clenched position. No. Keep the jaw unhinged. It's dislocated. Think of it's dislocated. It's dislocated. It's separate. It's independent from what's happening internally. This is why a little bottle cap helps to just kind of maintain. It's like a reminder. It helps you maintain that position. Okay. Now, I'm opening my throat. You can't see it. Obviously, there's no x-ray. But the idea is, when I take that inhalation, I'm lifting that palate. I am lowering that larynx as a consequence of opening the throat. It's not lowering the larynx just to lower the larynx. It's lowering the larynx as a consequence of opening the throat. Very easily put, it's almost like that beginning phase of the yawn when you're about to experience that sensation of yawning. It's not the full yawn, but it's that sensation. That lift. Opening the valve. Okay, now we have the throat open, we have the jaw unhinged and relaxed, okay? I am thinking internally, this vowel, this O vowel, but not here. I'm not doing it with my mouth. O. It's deep and tall, that O vowel. Almost like if someone is opening the doors and pulling those pillar fauces, separating them, right? Very close to where that little uvula is, that little dangling piece of flesh. We all know that. Okay. Behind that, that's how deep. And that's where it is. I want it behind it. Oh, okay. We're going to have a sense of openness, lots of space. And this is also why I tell a lot of singers that you should think of it as if you were hanging, or if someone put two hooks in your mouth and you were being hung or pulled in this direction so that your jaw drops freely. And you're being hung from that position. The idea is to keep this jaw from doing anything other than just being in its state of relaxation, unhinged, and making way for the correct posture. Now that we have the correct posture, we feel this acoustical space that we have opened, all the vowels are formulated here without any need to move the mouth, the jaw, and even the tongue. The tongue, only the back of the tongue can move slightly to try to formulate the vowels. The back of it, that part that we said that lifted upwards, almost like an E vowel, but the tip of it can still stay where it is, okay? For example, okay? You can even try to massage a little bit here if you need it to kind of remind you to keep this relaxed. The sound does not go, ah, that's mouth singing, ah, oh, okay? All in that position. They're all formulated in the pharynx. Even ooh, you don't have to make the ooh mouth position. You can still say ooh with your mouth perfectly still, independent of the phonation. Now let's look as we take it to the passaggio, right? Same idea. No need to open, gape the mouth. That's a crutch. If you're not used to this, your body is perhaps flipping out and trying to take you into what you know, which is the speaking position, okay? We don't want that. Take that leap of faith. Trust that the phonation only lives here, okay? Jaw unhinged, tongue numb, mouth relaxed. I'm gonna think only what's happening internally, what's happening here, okay? And I'm not gonna switch it to here. See, if I maintain this posture, the idea of covering the sound, the tilt, the gesture, all of that will happen by itself. You don't need to obsess over, well, when should I cover the sound? When should I turn it? Is it an F sharp? Is it? You don't think about any of that. You think about maintaining the posture. And as I've said before, if you maintain the posture and all you think is maintaining that, the function, the process, the posture, certain vowels will turn earlier than others. Some other vowels will turn later. It's not up to you. It's up for the sound. Your voice will dictate that, not you. Let your voice be free in that position. What we don't want to do is this. Mouth singing. What have we done? We have gone from here to this as we ascend and we close the throat. And you can hear it. It's an obvious change in quality of sound. It goes from a noble, resonant, elegant singing to a bit of musical theater, belting, screaming, almost a strangling sensation. And if you take that higher, you will strangle yourself. It's gonna feel tense, thick. There's not gonna be any spinning, any vibrato in the sound. And again, all the vowels can be formulated without having to move the mouth at all. Right? Now this is obviously an extreme. I'm really trying to show you how you don't have to move any of the mouth at all to formulate vowels, okay? And I would actually challenge many of you to see if you can come to this extreme. Even really, really small, right? To see that you don't need to open widely, right? The idea for singing in this style, in the classical operatic style, everything is formulated in the pharynx. Everything is first done by opening the throat, opening the acoustical space, okay? And of course, all these other concepts that we talked about come into place, but not here. There, here, the adduction, breath support, the feeling of flow of air, the snarl can be done in this position, okay? As we go higher, right? Same idea. You do not need to completely open wide. As a challenge, try to challenge yourself into this exercise. Can you keep everything phonating here without having to use the mouth, the jaw? Keep all that independent from the vocal phonation. Keep the jaw relaxed. Keep the sound all there. Okay? You can do this with a bottle cap as well. No need to open, clench, freak out. The sound lives here. The more you realize it, the more helpful it's going to be to understand that there's no such thing as singing high notes this way. The high notes don't live up there. The low notes don't live up there. It all lives in this bubble. It's all there. When you're singing, it's just one plane of sound. Low notes, high notes, they're all in the same position, right? Because you have understood that it's all about the posture, okay? Even all the vowels can be formulated. All can be formulated in this position. Now, of course, this is an extreme. I'm purposely keeping my mouth as small as possible to show you that it's not needed. Now, when we're singing for real, we can apply these ideas of the snarl. We could open the mouth slightly, but never abandoning this position, even up in the stratosphere, okay? Okay, you can apply that feeling of snarl while keeping everything here. Keeping that open throat position, keeping everything in this bubble of space. You know, I did this video talking about this imaginary ball floating here. Don't crush the ball. Look at what happens when I open my mouth, going from a correct position and shifting it to here. Ready? We're gonna go in the Passaggio, which many of you have told me how difficult it is for you to get past your Passaggio. Perhaps it's because your mouth singing. Look, in that G for tenor, right? Jaw unhinged, inwards, tongue numb, and we're only gonna focus on what's happening deep in there. As I open my mouth, I can't maintain this position open. It crushes, it squeezes, it closes that position, and we're back to musical theater. And I'll even experiment right in front of you guys. How much, till how long can I try to maintain this sort of posture in this position here? Okay? So there was a very clear point for me where it went from, okay, I can still maintain it open, I can still maintain it open, I can still maintain this open, I still have that acoustical space open, I can still focus here. And then there was a clear moment when I opened my mouth just too much and it crushed it. I lost all sort of nobility in the sound, all sort of elegance in the sound, and went completely open. I maintained all the concepts the same. All the other concepts, I try to maintain the vowel where it was. I try to maintain the posture, the adduction, the appoggio, everything. I try to maintain it exactly where it was. It was just this difference, singing from here and singing from here. So now we are making a discovery. We're understanding that in that specific note, and you can play around this with all the notes, right? From the bottom of your register to the highest point of your register. Where is that limit in which you can't open your mouth wider because it will crush, it will close that position. It will take you away from what we call, quote unquote, the tilt. Oh, okay, I have many videos about the tilt. It'll take you away from it so that you never go past that point. You shouldn't even get anywhere really close to that point, okay? And then you play around it with all the vowels. What about an A vowel, an E vowel, an O vowel, right? And you start to understand why many of you have problems with the closed vowels, A and E. Perhaps you can keep your A and your O in a good place, but when you switch to an A or an E, oh, it takes you vertical, it takes you away from that position, right? A lot of you do this. This could be your A vowel. Ah, it's okay, it's okay. But then you do this when it comes to an A. Ah, and it closes you. No, 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 it closes you because you're shifting from here and A to here. A. No, the A lives there and E lives here. All the vowels need to be sung through this O or U position, this is what I'm talking about. That's the O and U position, that open acoustical space, that little chamber of resonance that you don't want to ever abandon. Okay, look at what happens when you sing it with the right position. Okay, here's the ah. Ah, eh, ah, e, e. Okay, and again, it's an extreme, but it's to show you that you don't have to abandon that position, and your vowel should not be sung in different placements. One here, one there. One here, one there. No, no, no. All of them have to be sung there. You just need to reteach yourself, or if you're beginning, teach yourself, save yourself a lot of time to start to phonate from, sorry, from this position. If you follow this route, the word passaggio makes sense, because passaggio is really a passage, a bridge from one realm to the other, right? From your low register to your high register. You're going to realize how, when you do this correctly, it all makes sense as to why they even call it passaggio. Because it does feel like you are going through this narrow bridge that opens up freely the high register. And you can apply the snarl if you want. You can apply all sorts of these ideas of more head voice integration. That's on you, and that's for you to experiment and see what feels better. But this is non-negotiable. This is one of those things that I say it's a basic fundamental fact about singing, specifically in this style. All the other things are up for debate as to how much you want to do something. I am a firm believer that all voices are in many ways unique. And so what might feel really good for me might not feel exactly good, comfortable for you. But the basic fundamentals, the basic facts, the basic pillars of singing in the bel canto style, in the bel canto tradition, you have to have. It's non-negotiable. And this is one of those. If you sing open, you might be able to get away with it, again, for a couple years. It's not going to sound as beautiful, as elegant, as resonant as it could, but you could try to get away with it. There's definitely many professional opera singers singing completely open, but sooner or later it will take its toll and you will not be able to do it anymore. Now, one final thing I want to talk to you about. To prove this idea that certain vowels turn earlier or later than others, I'm going to demonstrate it for you. The ah vowel is the vowel that will always turn latest. This one is the one that you can take somewhat open at its highest point compared to the other vowels. The O vowel will turn earlier. The E and the E for sure will turn earlier. An open E might be close to an A. The E that's not closed, more of an instead of an E. The might be closer to an A. And an U will for sure as well turn. Okay, so look, we're going to sing all the vowels in an F and see how certain vowels will turn compared to others. We're going to sing the ah, of course, first, because that one will probably stay open if I maintain this position. Ah, open. Okay, so now I'm going to go on and do all the other vowels. Ah, turned. I'll continue on. Okay, so most of them have already either completely turned or are in the process of fully turning. Let's go to an F sharp, same position. Okay, so the ah is already definitely about to turn completely. This is sort of this idea of a half turn sound, okay? And this is why the F sharp, many tenors have said this famously, that the F sharp is always one of those notes, depending on the phrase, does it fully turn, does it stay open, does it half turn? If the F sharp is the climactic note of the phrase, perhaps most tenors will sing them open. However, if the F sharp is just a passing note to a higher note, most tenors might find themselves in a better position to turn that F sharp. Okay, so here it is again. Okay, now the rest of the vowels. Okay, so most of the other vowels have definitely turned by now. The A is perhaps the other one that could be in its half-turned or fully turned position. By G, for a lyric tenor, if you maintain this position, you will feel that all the vowels by then would have turned, for sure. If you are singing this open, keep the jaw and the mouth and the tongue independent from the process, from the phonation. They're all turned by then, if you maintain the posture. And again, by keeping the jaw relaxed, keeping the tongue numb, and the mouth very separate, independent from the phonation process, you're going to be able to access that tilt. You're going to be able to focus more on singing here instead of here, and it's going to be much more tense-free. If you try in any way to change the posture, you're going to feel more tension. Because as soon as you change this posture, you're going to be relying more on musculature, and you're going to lose a lot of that cricothyroid engagement, which its function is to continue to stretch and thin the vocal cords while it gradually adds head voice integration, right? Head voice is that sort of yawny, sighing sensation. Oh, right? That's all that cricoid idea. When you're in a roller coaster and you go, woo! That's all that cricothyroid engagement, okay? That idea of stretching the vocal cords. We want much more of that as we sing higher and higher in the range. If you come away from it, you're going back to that position of speaking, which will be screaming. So I hope that this video helps in understanding the idea that it's almost as if you have two mouths. You could think of it this way. This is your first mouth, and there's another one right behind that uvula area. That's your second mouth. We want to sing with the second mouth. We don't want to utilize the first one. The mouth itself can be used for perhaps embouchure. That's all it is, because the resonance chamber is not in the mouth. It's, as we have talked about, all the way back here, opening the throat. So I'm hoping that you understand how this type of singing will close the second mouth, while closing the first mouth will open the second mouth. And we want to be in this position when singing, especially classical and opera. And this will lead way to the idea and the concept of laringe stretta, this narrowing of the larynx, okay? Or sensation of narrowing of the larynx. It almost seems like the sensation of singing funnels through the passaggio as it opens into the higher range. This funneling is that idea of narrowness. And once you have this down, then you can play around with opening the mouth a little bit more, engaging in the snarl, always having that internal smile, not a smile, but an internal one, to be able to feel free, flexible, always vibrating. That is the key to singing, is vibrating in that acoustical space. It's not just having the acoustical space, it's not just vibrating, it's vibrating in that acoustical space. Narrowness to funnel into the higher register. Use that concept to make independent what's happening here with what's happening here. Always sing in this position. And once you have this foundation, then you can start to add the other concepts so that we are building this house, which is a representation of our vocal journey, our vocal progress, but we're building it with a strong foundation in these basic fundamentals. So that's it for today's Tenor Talk. As always, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Become a member to the CTS community. We have a very exciting announcement that is coming up that will be specifically for members. So if you're not a member, become one now, as it includes benefits that others do not have. And as always, it helps me to continue to put out content for you guys as we continue to learn and progress through our vocal journey together. Like I mentioned in all my videos, if you disagree with me or you do not like the things that I say, in no way or form are you forced to do any of the things that I say. You can take it or leave it. But please, this is a supportive community. There is no need to be violent or aggressive or nasty in the comment section. And I wish everyone the best of luck in their progress. Like always, keep practicing, keep studying. The work continues. Ciao, ciao for now.